What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome to my spoiler-free review for Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, since in spoiler-free reviews, at least for me, I don't know how other reviewers do it, but at least for me, I don't go much into the story details. I'm going to be mostly going into the mechanics and my overall non-spoilery-esque opinion of the game. There are going to be some clips from the game, but it's going to basically be what you guys saw in the trailer and bits and pieces that Capcom already showed, so nothing really spoilery. Overall, I feel as if Resident Evil 4 Remake was the polished version of what already was an incredibly well done game. The original Resident Evil 4 has to be hands down one of the best games ever created in the Resident Evil franchise. I feel like Resident Evil 1 Remake from 2002 and Resident Evil 4 go hand in hand as two of the best Resident Evil games. Now, for my earliest memories of playing Resident Evil 4 on the Wii back in 2006, my how time flies, I always thought as a child it was so cool of what Leon was capable of doing. I mean, my little, almost 13-year-old self at the time was so fascinated by all the badassness, if you will. Now, with new controls and minimal QTEs, it's really interesting seeing the comparison between the original and now the remake. With also a haptic feedback that is truly incredible to feel and to see performed on the screen. And keep in mind, the version that I played on personally was the PS5 version, so you also got a lot of different sound feedback that you wouldn't actually get on the computer if you're playing it on PC or on the Xbox. So there's a different thing I feel that everyone will experience with different versions depending on what platform you got it for. There was a wave of haptic feedback inserted into the controls to make you feel like your gun is responding, which as a kid, I could have never imagined that this would have been a thing. We live in a golden age of technology currently, and I'm always fascinated and such in a state of shock of what humans are capable of creating next. But whenever it comes to video games, from the in-depth cutscenes that I experienced to how Leon reacts to each situation after every fight, it's so incredibly unique and diverse in terms of how the fights are done to how he responds. If you did well, he'll kind of act cocky to a degree, and there will be certain vocal cues that he'll give, and Ashley will even give herself. So I find that incredibly unique within the battle structure and the fighting sequences after each one. It's really cool too, because not all of them, not all the reactions are going to be the same whenever you complete a boss or defeat a horde of enemies. I also love the fluidity of how well the controls worked with one another. My only gripe with it was that Leon in the first part of the game was kind of sluggish. I'm gonna be honest, he was kind of sluggish whenever you were first getting adjusted to what the controls might be. After you get adjusted, it's really smooth sailing from there on. But once you're getting acquainted with, especially, I don't know if this is just a me thing, but I never played a Resident Evil game on PlayStation before, so I was getting adjusted to having the mapping situation a bit different. So when I was getting acquainted to the controls, he seemed a bit sluggish, but that was probably just a me thing entirely when I was just adjusting more so to how the controls were on PlayStation 5. Now, I know other reviewers might go over this, but I don't care. I'm going over this anyway. You could probably hear this a bajillion times. The knife actually freaking works within this game, okay? The knife is actually good. It's so good. Like in the original, the knife barely worked at all, and it would be, oh my god, it would be more of a nuisance than anything. Even the I can never say that word, my god. Briefcase got a major overhaul, and there was auto organizing. So if you're in a pickle and you're like, oh, well, I don't feel like just manually organizing all this right now, you can just press on the toggle stick and it'll auto organize for you. I talked about how much I disliked this in the game, but also I have a love-hate relationship because you just press a button and it's so satisfying to see everything organized. But I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent here, but that was the joy. One of the pure joys of Resident Evil 4 Original was organizing your briefcase. It's like you organize all the health in one place, and then you have all the guns and stuff and ammo in another place, and then you have different odds and ends at the end and the miscellaneous stuff. It's just, it's so satisfying. It's wonderful. Now, one of the biggest changes that I feel was really well needed in this game is that Ashley as a whole, as a character, is way more independent in this game. You don't need to catch her as much. There isn't a lot of times when she's like, oh my god, Leon, help me. She doesn't do that annoying whining voice anymore, which I don't know, half and half about. It's part nostalgia for me, part just like, yeah, she doesn't do the whining voice anymore, thank goodness. But also it's part of the point of where like nostalgia can't always be there to take over a gaming experience for a player. So I feel as if that's good that they're changing things up in an organic way that makes sense for the game. Overall, when I think of Resident Evil, I think of something that's life-changing for me. That's the first thing that comes to my head is whenever I think of Resident Evil, it was life-changing because had my dad not gotten me Resident Evil 1 Remake for the GameCube back in 2003, I would probably not be here doing these reviews. And the major awesome part about it is that every player who experiences Resident Evil, whether that be the fourth game or the first or any game in between, are going to have their own personal experience with it. And I feel as if this game, for me at least, was such a turning point in my childhood because this is when I realized I truly loved video games. Anything can always be improved upon. Anything always has the capacity to have improvements and to be something better than what it was. And that just goes to, you know, this game, this entire series is major proof of that. You know, okay, Resident Evil 3 Remake kind of needs, you know, to go back to what more of the original was, but that's besides the point, okay? Seeing Ashley being improved upon, seeing Leon being improved upon, you know, seeing their relationship become stronger and more developed and more healthy instead of, you know, Leon acting like a complete horn dog throughout the entire game like he did in the original. It was such a wonderful thing to see. I was there in Ashley's corner throughout the entire game and seeing her character develop in such a mature, wonderful, you know, very organic way. I feel like that is probably the best part of this game overall, is that the characters were reimagined in such a way that I could actually feel an attachment to them because in the original, I didn't feel any kind of emotional attachment to them. I didn't feel like I could really bond with them or associate in any way, because as gamers, that's what we look for a lot of the time. We look for ways to feel simpatico with a lot of game characters. We look for a way to bond with them to an extent. As kind of strange as that sounds, we look for that. And I feel as if these characters in this game make that more possible for us as players to do. We can more see the, you know, the humanity in them. And I think that's what was lacking from the original, was pure, unadulterated humanity of where we can see the growth of the characters and how they behave and how their end result and how everything, you know, throughout the game impacted what their end result is. So I feel like it's so cool to see how Capcom completely remade and reimagined this entire game, basically. You know, there are things that, as you guys will see in the spoiler-heavy review, things happened that I did not like, that I did not enjoy, but things happened in this game that really kept true to what the original was, and it was redone in a way that was 10 times better, and you know, it completely exceeded my expectations. So, but you guys, that was it for me for my spoiler-free review for Resident Evil 4 Remake. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every day here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, your hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Umbasa. Oh God, the bloopers are starting.
Ariel,
Ah!
I just want you to know that I still love you,
I love you too!
even though you're doing that.
Even though I'm doing what? I'm telling you, kids nowadays know what it's nothing like to have the YouTubes as a jab. That made no sense as a sentence whatsoever. The kids don't know what it's not. Well, I can't even repeat it. Okay. Stretchies. I did the zoomies, now I gotta do the stretchies. You know what I'm talking about.